Your great-great-grandfather might have walked past the city chambers on George Square, smelled the coal smoke drifting off the Clyde, or squeezed onto a packed tramcar heading toward Govan. The Glasgow he knew in the 1880s wasn't a museum piece or a faded memory. It was alive, roaring, dangerous, and ambitious. A city of 500,000 souls where fortunes were made in shipyards and lost in a single bad season. Where tenement stairs echoed with Gaelic, Yiddish, and Lowland Scots. Where you could stand on a bridge at sunset and watch the entire industrial world pass beneath you. This was the second city of the British Empire, and it earned that title through iron, coal, steam, and sheer bloody-minded determination. In this video, I use modern AI tools to bring historic paintings, engravings, and prints to life, allowing us to shift perspective, change camera angles, and move through the same scenes in ways their original artists never could. We'll step into the shipyards, walk the tenement closes, and feel what it meant to live in a city that was building the future while choking on its own smoke. Let me show you. Stand on Glasgow Bridge in 1885 and you're standing at the pulse point of the entire city. This view shows the river crossing looking north, packed with horse-drawn carts hauling timber, coal and iron. The bridge itself is wide stone, built to handle the constant crush of traffic moving between the industrial south side and the merchant core on the north bank. In the foreground, a tramcar rattles past, bells clanging. In the midground, you see the crowds, workers in flat caps shouldering sacks, women with baskets of fish bought fresh from the Broomielaw quays. The background reveals the city skyline, church spires and factory chimneys fighting for space against a sky-stained amber with smoke. The smell here is overwhelming. Horse dung mixed with coal smoke, the sharp metallic tang of the Clyde at low tide, and something else. The sour smell of too many people pressed too close together. The noise is constant. Iron wheels on cobbles, horses snorting, vendors shouting, the deep horn blast of steamships downstream. But this crossing is dangerous. Traffic accidents happen almost daily. Horses slip on wet stone, carts collide. Pedestrians get crushed between vehicles. In winter, ice makes the bridge treacherous, and every year someone tumbles over the parapet into the black water below. Pickpockets work the crowds with practiced ease, fingers slipping into coat pockets while their marks watch the river traffic. Here's the thing. Glasgow Bridge isn't just a way across the river. It's where the two halves of the city meet and negotiate. North Bank wealth, South Bank labour. The tobacco merchants and ship owners cross paths with the riveters and dock workers. Everyone uses this bridge, and that makes it Glasgow in miniature. All the contradictions packed onto one stone span. By 1899, this bridge will be replaced with a wider iron structure. The old stone couldn't handle the traffic anymore. Progress demanded it. Today you can still cross at this exact spot, though the bridge you'd walk is from 1899, and it carries buses instead of horse carts. Walk downstream to the Broomielaw and you'll see where Glasgow connects to the world. This view from 1883 shows the riverside wharves packed with vessels, steamships from America, sailing ships from the Baltic, coastal traders from Liverpool and London. In the foreground, stevedores in heavy canvas jackets heave crates of Virginia tobacco onto waiting carts. The midground is a forest of masts and funnels, cranes swinging overhead, cargo nets rising and falling. In the background, the long brick warehouses stretch along the quay, their doors open to swallow the world's goods. The air here is thick with languages. You hear Gaelic from Highland labourers who came south for work, Yiddish from Jewish merchants trading in the tobacco stores, the clipped English of customs officers, the rough Scots of local carters. The smells are rich and foreign: raw tobacco, Caribbean rum, jute from India, coal tar, and always, underneath it all, the smell of the river itself. This is hard, dangerous work. Men fall from gangplanks, cargo shifts and crushes. Disease spreads quickly in the crowded pubs and lodging houses behind the docks. Typhoid and cholera don't respect hard work or good intentions. They just spread. The winter of 1881 saw an outbreak that killed dozens of dock families in the tenements along the Clyde side. But here's what matters. The Brumia Law is Glasgow's front door. Every ton of raw cotton that feeds the mills, every shipment of steel that goes into a new ship, every barrel of whiskey heading to Australia, it all passes through here. The tobacco lords built their mansions a century ago on the wealth that flowed through these docks. Now it's the turn of the shipbuilders and engineers. The docks will fade after World War II as ships grow too large for this stretch of river. Today, the Brumia Law is redeveloped. Modern offices and apartment blocks where the warehouses stood, but plaques mark the old quays, and if you know where to look you can still see the iron mooring rings set into the stone. Step away from the river and onto Argyle Street, and you're in the commercial heart of working Glasgow. This view from 1886 shows the street packed with shoppers looking east toward the city centre. 4-storey buildings line both sides, their ground floors occupied by drapers, ironmongers, tea merchants, bootmakers. The windows glitter with goods. In the foreground, women in long skirts navigate the crowds, careful to avoid the muddy gutters. Horse-drawn omnibuses lumber past, their bells warning pedestrians. The street is a wall of noise and motion. Hawkers cry their wares, hot pies, yesterday's newspapers, boxes of matches. A barrel organ wheezes out a popular tune while a man with a dancing monkey collects coins. Children dart between the adults, running errands or looking for dropped pennies. The smell of fresh bread mixes with horse sweat and the acrid bite of coal smoke. But Argyle Street has its shadows. Beggars cluster in the doorways, veterans of Britain's colonial wars, widows with hungry children clinging to their skirts. The crush of bodies makes it easy for thieves to work unnoticed. On December 17, 1884, a gas explosion in a shop near here killed 3 people outright and injured 24 more. The building collapsed into the street, and for days afterward, people walked past the rubble with their heads down. This street matters because it's where ordinary Glaswegians spend their wages. Not the grand shops of Buchanan Street where the wealthy browse, but working shops selling practical goods at prices a labourer can afford. This is where the city's money circulates, where small fortunes are made and lost, where a shopkeeper can prosper or go bankrupt based on a single season's trade. The street survives today, still one of Glasgow's main shopping districts. Most of the Victorian buildings are gone, replaced by 20th century architecture, but the railway station at Argyle Street, opened in 1896, still serves commuters, and the street still hums with the same commercial energy it had in 1885. Cross back over the river to Govan and you see where Glasgow's reputation is hammered into steel. This view from 1888 shows the massive shipyards, the iron skeletons of ocean liners rising like the ribs of mechanical whales. In the foreground, hundreds of men swarm across wooden scaffolding, riveters, platers, caulkers, painters, joiners. The midground reveals the huge gantries and steam-powered cranes of the Fairfield Yard. In the background, smoke pours from the forges, and you can see the hulls of completed vessels waiting to slide down the ways into the Clyde. The noise in the yards is beyond description. Thousands of hammers striking steel in a constant metallic thunder. Steam engines hissing. Rivet guns firing with sharp cracks that echo off the hull plates. Foremen bellowing orders that can barely be heard over the din. The air tastes of coal dust and hot metal. Sparks rain down from the welders working high above. The heat from the forges is visible even on cold days, making the air shimmer. This is brutal work. Men fall from scaffolding 40 feet up. Red-hot rivets fly loose and strike skulls. Fingers get crushed in machinery. The heat and noise exhaust men, and accidents multiply during the long shifts. In March 1881, a boiler explosion at the Clydebank Engineering Works killed 8 men instantly and maimed 6 others. Their names are forgotten now, but their labour built the ships that carried the Empire's trade. Here's what people miss about the Clyde shipyards. They weren't just about building ships. They were about building a system, a network of foundries, steel mills, engine works, rope makers, sail makers, chandlers, and transport firms, all feeding into the yards. The shipyards employed thousands directly, but tens of thousands more depended on them indirectly. When the yards were busy, Glasgow prospered. When orders dried up, entire neighbourhoods suffered. The yards made Glasgow famous. At their peak in the early 1900s, Clyde yards built 1/5 of the world's ships. Cunard liners, Royal Navy warships, merchant vessels for every ocean, all born here. But the decline came after the 1960s as shipbuilding moved to Asia. Today, only fragments of the yards remain active. The Riverside Museum at Govan tells the story now, and parts of the old slipways can still be seen along the waterfront. Ghosts of Glasgow's industrial glory. But here's what doesn't appear in the proud histories of Glasgow's industrial might. Cross to the south side, away from the grand streets and the busy docks, and you find the Gorbals. This view from 1887 shows the notorious tenement district where Glasgow's poorest families are packed into crumbling buildings. In the foreground, barefoot children play in a courtyard thick with mud and refuse. The midground shows the towering tenement blocks, 4 and 5 stories of blackened stone, washing lines strung between buildings like spiderwebs. In the background, more tenements disappear into the smoke. Life here is a daily fight for survival. Families of 8 or 10 share a single room. Water comes from shared pumps in the courtyard. Toilets are communal, overflowing, rank. The smell is almost physical: human waste, rotting garbage, cheap whiskey from the corner pubs, and underneath it all, the sickly sweet smell of sickness. Tuberculosis. Every tenement has it. You hear the coughing at night through the thin walls. The danger here isn't dramatic, it's grinding and constant. Disease spreads like fire in these conditions. The typhoid outbreak of 1885 hit the Gorbals hardest, killing hundreds. Fires tear through the old wooden staircases with terrible speed. Violence flares easily: domestic beatings, knife fights, gang warfare between streets. The police only enter in groups, and even then, reluctantly. Here's the brutal truth. While ship owners build mansions in the West End with Italian marble and French furniture, the men who hammer their ships together come home to this. The Gorbals is where you see the real cost of Glasgow's industrial prosperity. The wealth flows upward. The sickness pools here. The Glasgow Corporation begins tentative housing reforms in the 1890s. But real change takes decades. Most of the old Gorbals is demolished in slum clearances after World War II, entire streets wiped away. Today, modern housing estates stand where those tenements festered. A few restored Victorian blocks survive as reminders, but they're renovated now, respectable. They don't smell like the Gorbals smelled in 1887. Walk back to the city centre, to George Square, and you see Glasgow as it wants to be seen. This view from 1889 shows the square surrounded by banks, hotels, and the magnificent new city chambers. In the foreground, well-dressed citizens stroll past statues of Scottish heroes: Robert Burns with his plough, James Watt with his steam engine, Sir Walter Scott with his pen. The mid-ground shows the eastern side of the square, dominated by the city chambers with its Italian Renaissance facade and soaring tower. In the background, the grand buildings of commerce, insurance companies and shipping offices declaring Glasgow's arrival as a world power. The square is Glasgow's showcase. Carriages circle the perimeter. Gentlemen in top hats read newspapers on benches beneath the statues. A policeman in a tall helmet directs traffic with white-glove precision. The smell of roasting chestnuts drifts from a vendor's cart. Everything here is designed to impress, to announce that Glasgow is no longer a provincial Scottish town but a modern metropolis to rival any in Europe. But even here, tensions simmer beneath the polished surface. Political rallies fill the square on Saturdays, labour organisers demanding shorter hours and better wages, temperance campaigners preaching against the demon drink. The prosperity on display here is built on wages of shillings a day and 12-hour shifts. Everyone knows it, even if nobody says it aloud. The city chambers, opened by Queen Victoria herself in August 1888, represents Glasgow's civic pride made physical. The interior is a palace, marble staircases, gilded ceilings, murals celebrating industry and commerce. It cost over £500,000, a staggering sum. Critics said it was wasteful. Supporters said it was necessary, that Glasgow deserved a building to match its importance. Here's the thing about George Square. It survives almost unchanged. The statues still stand in the same positions. The city chambers still houses the city council. You can visit tomorrow and see what a Victorian Glaswegian saw in 1889. The square is a time capsule, and that's rare. Climb the hill east of the cathedral to the necropolis, and you see how Glasgow's wealthy prepared for eternity. This view from 1885 shows the vast Victorian cemetery sprawling across the hillside. In the foreground, elaborate monuments crowd together, stone angels with folded wings, Egyptian obelisks, Greek temples, Gothic spires. The midground shows tree-lined paths winding up toward the summit. In the background you see the cathedral's Gothic tower and beyond it, the city's smoky skyline. The necropolis is a city of the dead, designed in 1832 as a garden cemetery in the Romantic style. Families promenade here on Sunday afternoons, admiring the architecture of grief. The wealthy compete even in death, commissioning ever grander monuments. The wind carries the sound of church bells from below and the distant clang of shipyard hammers, reminding everyone that industry never stops, not even for the dead. But death here reflects life's inequalities. The grand monuments belong to tobacco merchants, ship owners, industrialists. Their names are carved in granite meant to last forever. The poor, when they can afford burial at all, lie in unmarked common graves at the edges. Infant mortality is so high that entire sections are reserved for children, rows of small stones marking lives that lasted weeks or months. The necropolis matters as a physical record of who held power in Victorian Glasgow. The names on the monuments read like a directory of industry, but it also matters as one of the few green spaces accessible to working people, a place to escape the smoke and noise, to walk among trees and breathe cleaner air. The cemetery remains one of Glasgow's most atmospheric sites. Its 3,500 monuments still stand among the trees, weathered but intact. You can climb to the summit today and see the entire city spread below you, much as you could in 1885. The view has changed, but not as much as you might think. Walk west to Sauchiehall Street and you find Glasgow's fashionable boulevard, where the middle classes come to forget they live in an industrial city. This view from 1888 shows ladies in elaborate hats and gentlemen with walking sticks strolling past elegant shopfronts. The buildings here are Grand Victorian, housing tea rooms, music halls, and department stores with plate glass windows displaying the latest fashions from London and Paris. The atmosphere is refined, or tries to be. String quartets play in the tea rooms. The rattle of carriages is softer here on better maintained pavement. The air smells of perfume, fresh coffee, and pastries rather than smoke and horse dung. This is where you come to see and be seen, to demonstrate that you've made something of yourself. But scratch the surface and you find the same tensions that run through the entire city. The wealth displayed here comes from industries that grind men to dust in the shipyards and foundries. Just off Sauchiehall, in the side streets, poverty presses close. After dark, prostitutes work the alleys, serving gentlemen who emerge from the music halls with their collars turned up. This street matters as Glasgow's attempt to prove it has culture as well as industry, that it can match Edinburgh's elegance while surpassing its productivity. The cafes and galleries become gathering places for artists and intellectuals, a counterbalance to the shipyard's brutality. It's not entirely successful, but the effort tells you something about Glasgow's ambitions. The street survives today as a major shopping district, though most Victorian buildings have been replaced. The Willow Tea Rooms, designed by Charles Rennie Mackintosh in 1903, still operate and offer a glimpse of the refined world Victorian Glasgow aspired to create. Stand in Glasgow in 1889, watching smoke rise from 1,000 chimneys, hearing hammers echo across the Clyde, and you can feel the weight of all that ambition and suffering packed into these streets. The past feels close when you can shift through these old engravings and see not just what the artists chose to show, but what existed beyond the frame, the tenement behind the grand building, the beggar beside the gentleman, the danger beneath the prosperity. This was the city that built the world's ships and housed thousands in tenements that were both prison and community. A city that balanced brutal industry with genuine pride. The Glasgow that made your family what it is today. If there's another city, another moment in history, or another scene you'd like me to reconstruct and explore in this way, let me know in the comments below. Again, thank you so much.